Sacred geometry has a way of speaking to the mind about how to operate correctly due to its shapes and forms pointing in certain directions, meaning that a square sits on its base while its two sides rise up to meet with another surface that could be called its top. Just as a diamond is something that's peaks always come together in a way where two lines meet to form its pointed edge, with one of these being at the top side and one on its base. This is the same kind of theory for all shapes in geometry, because they are constantly the same no matter how big or small they are or where they exist in reality. A triangle nearly always sits on its base side, but when it doesn't, the mind views it differently, as it knows that something unique is going on, which causes it to then have a look at the other elements around the unusual triangle shape, so that it can work out why this one is perched on its peak, or something of the sort. The mind knows shapes, and it enjoys them immensely, because it helps the mind to define where it is or what it is doing, and how to operate, due to shapes making up the majority of the world's environments. The mind knows that when it is confused about what is up or down, it can look to a line of horizon, and it can see how a tree is growing perpendicular to the level of the ground, and it rights itself based on those vertices and makes changes according to what it sees. The mind likes lines that define the world just as much as it enjoys looking at geometry, because it helps it to figure out any problems that it's having with knowing the directions of thought. Usually, the mind likes to think of things in a linear way, where it goes in search of a bit of intel, and it locates it within universal thought, and it brings that key bit of information into the knowing part of the mind. This allows it to then think in another way, where it expresses out of itself whatever it has learnt of, and this then changes the biology of the body to respond in a particular way. This all happens instantaneously and without much effort at all, due to the mind being something of a consciousness field of thought that thinks things into reality. The mind uses universal knowing, or consciousness that is not limited in any way, to tell it what it needs to know, so that it is always evolving and expanding what it believes to be true. This allows it to constantly update its energy field of thought, which helps it to grow the consciousness field of all that exists in and around the physical body. When the mind learns of something new, it does so through a change of thought occurring first. Then it knows that information in its now, or I am center field of energy, so that all of the being adapts to this new intel that has come into the mind. This allows that person to grow and change themselves on a moment-to-moment basis, which keeps all of the body's chi system happy, as it is constantly replenishing its energy sources through this transaction of thought. When the mind learns new information, it goes about its day feeling positive and inspired, as well as confident and reassured. This is mostly due to it kicking out old thoughts and beliefs that it knew before, and it replacing them with what it knows now. This leads to a chain reaction forming in that person, where their body follows suit, simply because the mind feels differently about something that it thought of. When a person thinks new thoughts, and ones of an elevated nature, it can make the consciousness field of all change itself in a positive way, where old content is let go of. And this results in the body then purging waste material of a toxic kind that was being held onto by old thoughts trapped within the being. Meaning that if a person learns something new about a situation that they went through that was harmful, then it is possible for old mass to exit the physical body, all because the mind now knows some new detail that makes it behave differently. This results in it accurately seeing things in the right way again after some time of self-blame, for example, which then triggers a response in the body where forgiveness is felt by the heart. A lot of changes can come about just by new thoughts entering the mind of an evolved kind. And when this happens, it is possible for all kinds of low vibration and toxic mass to be let go of from within and around the body. A person just needs to learn of some small detail where they no longer think in the same ways that they once did, and then they can free themselves of old mass that makes them feel low inside and like they are not a good person. Whatever it is that individual is holding on to, a new thought is all that it takes for them to feel peaceful again, if they keep believing what they have learnt consistently for a long time afterwards. The mind adapts to thoughts that tell it enlightening content or some revelation that this person has had. And when it lets go of old ideas about self, as well as waste material held within the body, that person can then express themselves differently as a result of it. This leads to that individual feeling more joyful and positive about the life that they are living, as well as them being more optimistic that good times are coming next. And what happens is each and every cell in the body comes alive with chi that is telling it evolutionary information. When the cells are stimulated in a way where they learn that this person has forgiven themselves for something that they were a part of, they celebrate by giving off a higher vibration. And when this takes place, this person ends up becoming more abundant. This is due to the cells expressing themselves in a new way where high vibration signals are being sent out into the body, which then has a ripple effect on each and every component of that person's totality, where it elevates its lightful matter and becomes more powerful. The mind controls the chi in a way where it can restrict how much light it holds or how much life material, as well as that person being able to stop all forms of abundant chi from entering their body if they feel low enough that they hate themselves or something of the sort. That person's mind holds beliefs that state whether or not that individual loves themselves enough to heal, and should a signal of "I can never forgive myself for what happened" within their I am field of a thoughtful kind, then a number of restrictions can be placed on the chi due to that person loathing themselves or the life that they are living. When the chi is controlled in an unhealthy way, where that person says no to abundant amounts of energy being in them, as well as the chi inside of the body also being of a substandard quality, a person can fall victim to a mind that is unruly all of the time. This leads to complications with thoughts of a rightful kind that are positive and uplifting, due to that person no longer having a flow within them that takes old energy out and away from the body. Usually, the mind welcomes new chi in on a moment-to-moment basis to replenish all that is lost or exerted or used up by that person's daily activities. However, if that individual is suffering with low self-worth, unforgiveness, self-hate, remorse, grief, or a stun from a shocking ordeal preventing them from returning to a normal state of centralized thought, then all of the body can dull down its responses to the now time of reality and sit in a state akin to a griefful encounter from that person's past. Meaning that if this person can't get over something that happened to them or another person, for whatever reason, then it can slow down the chi in the body to an almost still state, as well as it then watering down the chi's potency, vibrancy, vitality, healthful content, and its staying power that it uses to keep trying to solve a problem within the body, which results in that person's health becoming compromised severely. This leads to associations flaring up and old mass being looked to by the mind, as it is trying to find a solution to the problem that it's having with what is going on. So it assesses the waste of the body to see if it can find details on what caused the self-hatred to begin with. If that person happens to have a lot of unprocessed feelings from past times of harm, or a lot of unconscious knowing within them from bad things happening, then they can find it almost impossible to get back to a rightful state of functioning again, due to them seeing masses upon masses of old grief sitting in the body in an unprocessed state. This leads to the mind finding a bit of a gold mine according to what it believes to be true, because it now has located a lot of things to take another look at, so that it can help that person to let go of self-loathing. The only problem is, some of this intel can be graphic or horrific, or otherwise disempowering for it to know, which of course stuns it relentlessly every time that it tries to inquire with the old mass held in the body. The mind gets trapped in a loop of look to old memories, and it becomes so badly shocked that it goes offline. And when this takes place, another type of problem arises for it, where it can no longer hold its composure and steady itself in a way where it thinks enough thoughts about the thing that it is assessing, so that it lets go of the totality of this mass. What happens instead is the mind begins digging through the old content in the body, and it finds a memory of a shocking ordeal, and it starts the process of assessing what is contained in the form of images, words, actions, and the responses of the body, only to then become overwhelmed by it reliving that negative past experience. It then loses all of its power of thought, which keeps that memory of past shock where the mind is holding on to it in its consciousness field of I am. This then pollutes the mind's I am field in a highly toxic way, where it then influences every action that this person takes from that moment onwards. Instead of this person assessing each situation as it comes, they become influenced by old thoughts from a time of trauma, which then compromises each and every element of thought, belief, actions of the body, response by the nervous system, and more, all because some kind of terrifying ordeal is right next to the I am center of expression. On top of this, the mind can forget that this even happened and go back for more, digging around in the subconscious for details about why this person is depressed or loathing their existence. And what happens next is another trauma gets revealed, and then another one after that, until all of the I am is filled with the grief and loss and shocking encounters that this person went through in their past, making all of the mind submit to the idea that this person is not okay mentally, so it should do something about it. It then alerts the nervous system to shut down to get that person's attention, which causes fibromyalgia symptoms, stress symptoms, tensions, tightness, and restrictions to flow in the blood and the waters of the body, all because the mind is suffocating in the mass of a wasteful kind. a lot can happen that is negative and painful when a person is in this type of predicament, because at every moment of the day or night, this person is being prompted by old tragedies or old truths that tell them harmful and corruptive information. What needs to occur is for the mind to let go of studying old mass, so that the I am can recover and kick out all that does not belong in its field of energy. And this can only come about when that person's mind is satisfied that it made a mistake to do this in the first place, or that this person has now learnt enough about themselves through old mass being re-looked at, and new feelings being produced due to a change of thought occurring within their mind. This person simply needs to think new thoughts about all of what they have been through, as well as them learning about what their mind did to cope back when it became confused about what was going on. And then the mind can work together with the I am to solve all of the problems within the body. This is what can happen when a person uses rightful thought brought on by a picture being shown to them that contains directions on how the mind should think according to what it is trying to achieve in the form of release. Meaning that a sacred geometry design that outlines how to welcome more chi into the body could be shown to that person, and due to a change of thought going on, they could then begin the process of letting go of restriction so that their body flows correctly. Once the mind has let go of its thoughts of restriction, it could then decide to re-establish its connection to both the higher and the lower realm in a way where it ingests new chi into the body over and over again, while also purging all of its toxic mass, so that this person becomes freed of all dead energy and energetic resources that have expressed themselves already, that are just sitting dormant in the body, waiting to exit through thoughts of a healing kind. Once these two changes have occurred, via symbol 1 and symbol 2 being known to that person, they can then look to the third geometry that says, let's clean up this mess and get organized so that we can be more joyful. This starts a frenzy of activity within the body, where anything that is wrongfully stored in any part of that person's all is rearranged and dealt with according to what it is. This means that should you hold old mass in your head that belongs in the lower part of your body because it contains emotional residues from times of shock, then this symbol's geometry will tell you how to get that energy out of your brain and into the lower body area so that it is expressed and processed accordingly. Just as if you hold old knowingness of mind in your gut, which irritates it and makes it unhappy, this too will be looked at again in a new way that is rightful, so that it is sent upwards to where the mind can complete its thoughts about some kind of turmoil that it went through that led it to a depressive state being initiated by that individual. The star child symbol is one that tells the mind, look here to know yourself correctly, so that you no longer think in an upside down manner or in a deranged way, where you believe the bottom of your body to be the top, etc. So that all of what that person has been through in their past leaves their physical form. This then clears the path between the mind and the body, so that more chi of a light-filled kind can enter the center of being. And once this change has taken place, another symbol can be shown to the mind that speaks of a transformation of thought occurring, where that person adapts to the idea that the past is over with and that they are moving in a new direction. This comes about due to the mind severing its connection to old times of life that exist within and around the body in the form of cords, attachment, restrictive energies that bind a person to old beliefs, as well as things like old mass that makes a person aware of something harmful, such as another individual's energy. The transformation symbol cuts through old ties to past moments in time, so that this individual is always presently aware and capable of positive thoughts. That way they can assert themselves correctly always, without any part of their past dictating to them about how they should behave. The first 4 symbols make a person disconnect from old, become aware of the now in a new and healthy way, and bring into the body more chi of an evolved kind. While the following 4 sacred symbols of the stars tell the mind something different, which is to go in search of positive thoughts that empower you to grow, so that you let go of all that is holding you down energetically. Then the final 4 symbols in the first series set make a person reassess where they are at, so that they can change direction if need be, or they can alter the path that they are on in some positive way. Or they could be instructed to let go again in some way that is powerful, where they see themselves correctly as the person that they are truthfully, without any part of that person's past defining to them what they are capable of moving forwards. This is because some people can sink into a depressive hole that they cannot get out of, because too much hurt exists inside of them. And when this is the case, they can see no way forwards anymore, because they cannot fathom how things could ever be good again, as so much remorse or regret or disempowerment is held inside of their body. So the final 4 symbols can end up changing a person's life in a significant way, if they come to work with them, and they let go of all of what they thought of themselves at one of the worst times of their life. Some people hold tragic encounters and lossful moments, as well as violent and horrific details within their being. And it is not uncommon for a kind of self-hatred to exist in their mind that is unshakable and stubborn to the point of it never being let go of. This is why the final 4 symbols of Series 1 are designed to help people in this kind of predicament, so that they are able to shift out of them any old energy that speaks of terrible times being had by that individual at any period of their life. Symbols 9, 10, 11, and 12 all help the mind to regenerate the chi that has been lost or expired when threat was around that person to any degree, so that this individual learns to love themselves wholeheartedly again. When symbols 9 to 12 are worked with, it can change that person's perspective to one of a healthy kind, after things like coercion have taught them to self-blame for every minute detail of what they went through. And this allows that person to see correctly that they are in fact worth loving, and that they do deserve grace, and this helps them to recover in every way possible from all thoughts of self-hatred. Sometimes a person needs to know that they are loved by God, or that they are a good person who deserves the attention of others, because they have shunned every part of themselves that was lightful at some point where an unforgiving heart took over them. Which is why the final 4 symbols of Series 1 connects a person to their heart-mind, as well as their soul-spirit self, so that a purging begins of all tragedy energy and all self-punishment brought on by grief, and any mass that tells that person that they are somehow to blame for all that occurred, and it moves out of their being completely. This enables that person to forgive themselves in ways that they have not allowed before, which results in more and more changes of a positive kind. Symbols 1 to 4 make a person aware in a new way of what is going on inside of them. Then the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th geometries tell the mind to become empowered in a way that is evolutionary and not how it has behaved before that moment in time. Then symbols 9, 10, 11, and 12 all help that person to be powerful and to let go of the past wholeheartedly, so that all future energies that speak of new times coming to that person can be welcomed into the body, so that this individual grows into who they are becoming next. All of this is possible by your mind seeing shapes and form that tell it the right way to think after it has become boggled by confusion in a stressful moment, and it's come to be without all of its chi resources being available to it. Your mind can heal from traumas and tragedies when it knows how to eliminate waste or how to let go of pain, by recognizing the inside from the outside of the body. You just need to know how to let go of old and how to welcome new and enlightening chi into your body. And then you can find that the same issues no longer bother you, because you're thinking in a totally unique way to how you were before. It just takes an adjustment to the mind's perception, as well as it having more energy available to it on a moment-to-moment basis. And then it can decide to release all of what it believed in a time of shock occurring, so that something else takes its place that is positive and uplifting. Each of the sacred symbols of the stars geometries tell a story visually of how to transform boggy and negative thoughts so that some kind of relief is felt by the overall being. They tell your mind how to be powerful again after you may have gone through a loss or a grief or some kind of disempowering event that caused you to change what you believe about yourself. And they can even help you to define yourself in the now if you've become stuck looking to old mass to tell you who you are. All you need to do is to look to the symbols and learn of what they mean to you, and then you can let go over and over again until you feel better. Once the heart is engaged with what you are doing, it then adapts to feeling in a new way that expresses out of the heart more chi that is filled with unconditional love. This then encourages every part of that person to transform any low vibration matter until it has become freed of all of its stagnant energy. That way, this person surrenders old mass that speaks of self-loathing or self-hate or some kind of self-punishment, so that they go back to being all of their light-filled qualities of self. That is what can happen when you work with the sacred symbols of the stars geometries, and you clear out old wounds that make you feel terrible about yourself. They help you to know yourself truthfully, without any old perceptions getting in the way, so that you clearly see what you deserve and how to get it with your new and improved powers of manifestation.